soap today. This is going to be a fun soap. I'm adding my lye water into my oils there, and then I'm going to mix those oils up just enough to make sure they're all incorporated, but not too much that it makes the soap thicken too quickly. You always want to make sure that your soap is not too thick, or you won't be able to make all the cool pretty swirls and everything with them, and it's just really hard to work with. There I am adding some sodium lactate to the soap. What that does is help harden up the bar of soap, makes it easier to cut, and also makes it last longer for you when you go to use it. And here I am splitting up the soap batter into 4 different containers. The white base is going to be in the big white bucket, and then there's going to be 3 different colors, 2 pinks and 1 gold that I drop into that white. So I'm just measuring those out right now. And you guys, this is a very special soap. It's a soap that I am making for my Grace Bombs. It's a Jesus soap with a cross in it, and it will be stamped with daughter for daughter of the king. Here I am adding the titanium dioxide to color the white soap, and then we're adding some pink mica from Mad Micas, and then here's some other pink mica from Mad Micas. I believe that's a voodoo. So it's got a little red and pink in it. And then Sparkle Me Sunshine for the gold. So as I was making this soap today, I listened to my gospel music like I do whenever I make any of my soaps. But the one thing that I did different today with this soap is as I made them, I prayed over every bar of soap that I was making. And just prayed for every woman that this bar of soap would go to. I prayed that she would know Jesus and that she would have salvation. So here I am just mixing in all of the colors really good, and my fragrance. We used a sunflower fragrance for this particular soap. It smells really nice. It's not too overpowering, a really nice light scent. I'm just making sure I mix them all really good. So these soaps turn out so beautiful. I usually don't tell you about how they turned out before I show you, but I have a special story for these soaps, guys. I didn't realize it until I made the next batch of soap after this, that I completely forgot to add the last 2 oils to the batch of soap. They were the smallest oils, but still I forgot to add them. And to make a bar of soap that is not too heavy in lye, you need to make sure you have the right oils. Here I am, guys, just pouring in in the pot swirl, pouring in those colors into that white before I pour it. But when you make a bar of soap, you have a certain amount of oil and a certain amount of lye. You have enough lye in that soap to eat up those oils and turn it into soap, and no lye left over. The fact that I left 2 oils out of this soap should mean that this soap is destroyed and too heavy in lye. The other batch of soap that I measured out at the same time that has the same measurements in it, it won't even hold color because it's so heavy in lye. Here I am adding the little cross embed into the middle of the soap here, and then I will pour the stuff on top, the rest of the batter on top. But this soap measures an 8.5 maybe, between an 8 and a 9 pH, which is fine for a bar of soap. The other bar of soap that I made, batch of soap that I made with this exact ingredients in it, besides the fragrance being a different color, but that wouldn't do it, is over a 10 in pH. It's extremely heavy in lye and in fact would not even hold its color. It's just destroyed. And these Jesus soaps turned out amazing. There is no explanation for it. Here I am spritzing the top with alcohol so they don't get any soda ash on them. And then I'm going to actually go right into making the frosting on this soap. Adding the lye water and mixing the frosting really good. When you're making a frosting, you mix it a lot. Like, you want to mix it until it gets hard enough to where when you move it with a spatula, it stays. It doesn't melt back into the pot, so that you can put it in a piping bag and pipe it on the soap. So that's what I'm doing right now. And this is the frosting. Also, the last two oils were left out of this frosting, and it is still measuring an 8.5 in pH. So God has done some things in my soaps today that I can't explain. He has saved the 20 Jesus soaps that I prayed over for each woman. I don't know how, but he did. There's no other explanation. It was the same recipe. And the mushroom soap that I made after this is so heavy in lye. Like I said, it crumbles and won't hold color. Here's how you can see how I pushed that spatula and the soap didn't move. That's how you know it's ready to go into the piping bag. So I'm going to fill the piping bag, and then we're going to frost these soaps. They smell amazing. I used a sunflower fragrance. All of my fragrance are phthalate and paraben free, so you don't have to worry about that when you use my soaps. So here I'm going to frost the soaps. Now, to explain a little bit more about these cross soaps, I am actually making these cross soaps for what is called a grace bomb. So a grace bomb is a little card that introduces Jesus and just basically says, Jesus loves you. I hope you're having an amazing day, and you are to give a gift with it. So I'm making these particular cross soaps and stamping them with daughter for my grace bombs. These soaps are not made or intended to sell. These are made specifically for my grace bombs. Yeah, I would sell one if somebody wanted one, but that's not what they're made for. They're made for my grace bombs. So the fact that these soaps are missing 10% of the oils that belong in them and are still turning out to be an 8 in pH is a miracle in itself. The other bar that I made with the same recipe, the mushroom soap, it came out an 11. Is way too much lye to use on your skin. It would burn you. But somehow these soaps turned out amazing in color. They cut amazing. They smell amazing. They look amazing. They stamped amazing. And they are testing at a good pH to use. How blessed is that? Instead of throwing these 20 bars of soap, which is a decent amount of money, especially because of the large amount of melted pork put into this soap, with that huge cross in there, I would have been throwing away so much money, and bigger than that, 20 soaps that were intended to spread the word of Jesus. So here I am topping the rest of these soaps. And just listening to my music and praying for each and every one of these women, for the courage for me to give them out, for the women who receive them, that God would show himself in their lives, that he would make himself known, that Jesus is the Son of the only living God, and the only way to salvation is through him. And that is what these soaps were intended for. And that is what they will be used for, because they were saved. I have no explanation. They were just saved. I am not going to make you watch me do the whole second loaf. Here I am adding on some Sparkle Me Sunshine on top. Sparkle Me Sunshine is interesting. It's an interesting mica. It works as a mica in your soaps, or you could use it as a really pretty glitter on top of the soap. I really love this mica. It is one of my favorite micas. It always turns out so beautiful. And all of my micas and all of my glitters are skin safe. I use biodegradable glitters, and the micas are made from stone, from rock. So they're natural. Here I am adding the little red ball on top of the soap. You guys, the melt and pour soaps, the tiny soaps that I made for these soaps took forever. I had to make 20 tiny crosses, one for each side of these soaps, and I only had one tiny cross mold that was small enough to work for this soap. So I had to make it 20 times. It took forever. Not to mention the huge cross soaps in the middle of the soap that I had to make. And then these little hearts that I'm putting on. So I made 20 hearts, 20 little crosses, 20 balls, red balls for the top, and then the little crosses that go inside. Very detailed soap. So now I'm going to add those little crosses to the soap. And when I am done adding the crosses, then I am going, there's a little cross right there. These are the ones, that's the mold that I only had one of. So I had to do that 20 times. I had to melt and pour it, wait for it to dry, pop it out, and do the process over again 20 times. Very time consuming. And here's how they turned out. You can see the little hearts on that side and the little crosses on that side. They're amazing. And you'll be able to see just in a second how beautiful they cut. And at the end of this video, I am actually going to throw a picture of that base of mushroom soap so you can see what these soaps should look like. And here's how they turned out. They turned out beautiful. You guys, these soaps cut amazing. I can never get that cross perfectly center in the soap, but I'm not perfect. But do they still look amazing? So don't let, not being perfect stop you from doing something. Like, look at how beautiful that bar of soap is. And it is so far from being perfect. I could pick this bar of soap apart, but no, it's beautiful. Look at it. It turned out amazing. And I'm going to put these in a little bag with some Jesus socks, a Jesus bag, and I don't know, maybe a Jesus cross bath bomb, and a grace card. And I'm going to start handing them out. at the grocery store, wherever I go, inviting them to my church, to my women's group. That's why these soaps are saved. That's what I believe. Nobody can convince me any different, because chemically, these soaps should not be possible. But they are. Here they are. 20 of them for 20 different women, 20 different souls. Guys, if you are shy, if you are stuck and you feel like God is calling you, just listen. He's got you. Daughter of the King. And next up, you're going to see this mushroom soap, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Look at this thing. It is just garbage.